A lot of Palestinians living in the devastated enclave seem to view the deal as a victory for them. Assuming that the deal is approved, which is a significant assumption, and assuming that Israel respects the deal, do you believe that this deal constitutes a strategic defeat for Israel and a victory for the Palestinians?
There are multiple things I would like to mention about this possible ceasefire agreement because it may fail the last moments. Things like this happen with Israel all the time. I think the most important priority for the people should be the lives of the Palestinians. Therefore, a ceasefire agreement that can spare thousands and tens of thousands of Palestinian lives should be celebrated. And this ceasefire deal was possible many months ago. And this is the same ceasefire deal that was vetoed by Joe Biden and by Benjamin Netanyahu, which tells us something about Joe Biden's administration, that they were not only complicit with the crimes against humanity committed in the Gaza Strip, but they were also partners in this crime. So this is beyond because in the Genocide Convention, it is mentioned the countries that could be complicit in genocide. So in this case, we could go one step further and say that the Joe Biden administration, Antony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, and all the administration were partners with Israel in these crimes there. Now, Donald Trump, before he comes to power, it is reported by the Israeli press that he pressed Netanyahu to accept. Now, in this case, some people say this is for humanitarian reasons, but I don't believe that is the case. I don't think that Donald Trump has the best interests of the Palestinians at heart. And I know I'm not naive enough to believe that he basically appointed many hardcore Zionists in his administration in order to give the Palestinians what they want. I think in this case, we have to take a zoom out and see what are the priorities of Donald Trump in the region to understand why he pushed for a ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip. I think one of the priorities of Donald Trump is to end the Palestine cause, but in a more soft power way. And what I mean by that is only a few days ago, before the ceasefire agreement was approved again by the Palestinians, it was reported in the American press that Jared Kushner, he has accelerated the investments in the West Bank and in the occupied Palestinian territories to build more settlements. And we're talking about quote, turbocharging settlement building on Palestinian territories. So this is also ethnic cleansing, but not through bullets, but through building illegal settlements and pushing the Palestinians out of their land. So both the Democrats and the Republicans are doing the same thing, but with different means. The other factor I think that Trump is interested in for West Asia or the Middle East is the defense pact with Saudi Arabia. And this is something strategic for the US in the region. However, in order for the US to strike this defense pact, there is an article in the defense pact that says Saudi Arabia should also normalize ties with Israel. And Saudi Arabia cannot normalize ties with Israel now under such circumstances where when Israel is committing a genocide and has decimated entire Gaza Strip, and the entire, let's say, Arab and Muslim sentiments are against Israel, right? So even if Saudi Arabia, for opportunistic reasons, wants to strike such a deal with Israel and the US, still in front of the public in the region, in front of the people, that is not possible. So Israel has to stop this operation now, and they have to shift the international public opinion away from Israel. And during this time, the negotiations can continue between the both sides. And in this case, it's important to see what will be the position of Saudi Arabia over the establishment of a Palestinian statehood. Because Saudi Arabia says in official statements and press conferences that they will not accept to normalize ties unless the Palestinian statehood is established. But is that possible? Will the Israelis accept for the Palestinians to have a statehood? I don't believe that there is any hope from the Israelis to accept voluntarily to establish a Palestine state. And what is a Palestine state at the end of the day? Are we speaking about the West Bank and Gaza? Okay, if that is the case, then in the West Bank, we have a huge number of settlements, and every Palestinian town is separated from each other by checkpoints, and between every town and town there is a settlement. So that is not a state to begin with. That's, I believe, long time ago, Chomsky said something like West Bank has become like chicken nuggets, like small nuggets all over the place, and then they are all separated by the settlements. So I'm not optimistic per se. I'm happy for the ceasefire agreement for the Palestinians, and this is a victory for everyone who survived the genocide. But I'm also not naive enough to believe that the US, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Qatar, all involved in this deal now in the region, want the best for the Palestinians. What they want is to end the Palestine cause, because this has become an obstacle for them, not only to normalize ties with Israel, but to strike a big deal with the US. And people need to know that this deal will give Saudi Arabia, it will allow Americans to invest in Saudi Arabia and operate a civilian nuclear program, for example. They will prioritize American weapon supplies to Saudi Arabia. They will give Saudi Arabia an access to the AI programs in the United States. So this is detrimental from the point of view of Saudi Arabia, and it is more important than Palestine. It is more important than the Palestinian people, and it was like more important than what has happened in Syria, because for them it's like this Arab-Israeli conflict has to come to an end, because in their point of view they have an economic vision and a futuristic vision that they want to implement, and these countries in the region that are opposing American and Israeli hegemony in the region are just obstacles for them. So they have worked relentlessly in the past decade or two in order to weaken every single one of them. And notice how the position of Iran also has been weakened in the past one year, especially after the regime change in Damascus, which Iran, I believe, is the biggest loser from this. Now it is separated from Hezbollah. Hezbollah is being localized. They have even formed a government They have selected basically a president who is endorsed by Saudi Arabia and United States, which means by extension by Israel. Mm-hmm. And they have also selected a prime minister after isolating the Amal and Hezbollah movement from the government. So I think that the Israelis and the Americans see themselves, let's say the deep state in the US, the empire, they see themselves emerging victorious in the region, and they want to impose their terms on their foes or their rivals in West Asia.